On November 20th, local time in Brazil, Macron was spotted at the G20 summit in Rio de Janeiro, and a video of him complaining about Haiti quickly went viral across major media outlets. The video sparked widespread debate as soon as it was released. Many people criticized Macron and France, claiming they are responsible for Haiti's current situation. Macron argued that Haiti allowed the drug trade to thrive, which ultimately led to the worsening of the country's situation and its downfall. He also criticized the Haitian Transition President's Committee for dismissing former President Jovenel Moïse, calling it a total disaster, and bluntly labeling them idiots. In response, Haiti's Ministry of Foreign Affairs called Macron's remarks unacceptable and summoned the French ambassador to Haiti for an urgent meeting. This incident caused an international uproar, with media outlets around the world picking up the story and domestic media following suit. Many people may not realize that Haiti, a small and lesser-known country, has had a long history of complex relations with France. The relationship between France and Haiti in some ways mirrors the historical tension between France and the Jewish community. It's a somewhat obscure yet significant issue. Today, let's dive into the historical ties between France and Haiti and figure out whether France is truly at fault or if Haiti is just being difficult. The topic involves three countries: France, Haiti, and the United States. One a former colonial power, another a modern-day hegemon, and the third, a quirky little country with a complicated history. The tangled web of their relationships is nothing short of fascinating. Here's a little fun fact. 2024 marks the 220th anniversary of Haiti's independence. Back in 1804, the Haitian people overthrew their French slave masters and declared independence, but France wasn't exactly thrilled about it. Fast forward to 1825, and the French sailed their warships right up to Haiti, demanding a hefty price for recognizing Haiti's independence. Compensation for the losses France suffered from losing its colony, amounting to 150 million francs. The payment was to be made in installments, with 30 million francs per year to be paid off within 5 years. To put the 150 million francs into perspective, this amount was absolutely astronomical. In 1803, the United States bought the Louisiana Territory from Napoleon for 80 million francs, and that was a landmass larger than the entire US at the time. The 150 million francs was a fortune, and Haiti's economy was in no condition to pay this off in 5 years, or even 50 years for that matter. Of course, France knew that Haiti couldn't pay this enormous sum, so they had a clever idea. Haiti could borrow the money from French banks. And to make things easier, Haiti could just keep borrowing to pay off old debts. Sound familiar? France basically set up a vampire economy playbook, using the same tactics it had applied to Africa. And guess what? Haiti actually borrowed 30 million francs from French banks to pay France. But the result? Haiti became buried in debt and couldn't repay the loan, defaulting on it. France's ultimate goal was just to get the money, so in 1838, they sent 12 warships to force Haiti to sign a friendly treaty that reduced the compensation amount to 90 million francs. But Haiti still had to cough up an additional 60 million francs. Since Haiti's independence, the country has been pretty unusual. While other nations either fought with their lives to expel colonizers or negotiated their rights, Haiti took a different approach. It literally paid off its colonizers with compensation. But wait, the story gets even more bizarre. Haiti managed to rope the United States into the whole mess. Since declaring independence, Haiti has been in a constant state of political upheaval, with presidents changing faster than you can flip through a book. The colonial legacy left by France was quickly squandered by successive presidents, and the original debt was long unpaid. Yet Haiti continued the cycle of borrowing more to pay off old debts, sinking deeper into financial turmoil. But here's where it gets really wild. Despite all this, Haiti somehow managed to almost clear its entire debt by 1874, mainly through massive exploitation of its citizens. You'd think things would get better from there, right? Well, that's where the magic begins. In 1874, Michel Domingue took office, and his top priority was to build the country. He focused on infrastructure. Roads, bridges, ports, lighthouses. Sounds good, right? But the twist here is that Domingue wasn't really interested in developing the nation for the people. Instead, he was more focused on lining his own pockets. For example, in 1875, when Haiti's government received a new loan, French bankers immediately took a 40% commission off the top. What happened to the remaining 60%? After paying off some small debts, most of it went straight into the pockets of the president and other officials. What was originally meant to pay France's debt ended up as government funds for personal indulgence. This became the standard operation for every president, without exception. They repeatedly borrowed money from French banks, using part of it to pay off old debts, but most of it was squandered. Meanwhile, they raised taxes to further exploit the population. Some of that tax revenue went to pay off debts, but most of it ended up in the pockets of the officials. They kept borrowing, kept squeezing the people, and the cycle continued almost as a set pattern. As a result, French bankers and Haitian government officials were living lavish, extravagant lives, while ordinary citizens were stuck in misery, with many homeless and starving. Meanwhile, the debt to France that Haiti was supposed to pay off was sinking deeper into an abyss. By 1915, a full 40 years later, Haiti still hadn't repaid the money to French banks. That's when the United States finally decided they had seen enough. Haiti's location was critical to US interests. It sat right next to America and was a strategic point on the Caribbean shipping routes. The US had been eyeing Haiti for years, but because Haiti's situation was so closely tied to France, America had been biding its time, waiting for the right moment to act. The United States saw Haiti's instability as a major concern, mainly due to its overwhelming debt and France's continuing influence. So the US began to consider a strategy: lend money to Haiti to help it pay off its debts to France. By doing this, Haiti's debt would be shifted to the US, and America could use this leverage to control Haiti's situation. At the very least, they hoped to stabilize Haiti and prevent its instability from spilling over and affecting the broader Caribbean region, which was critical to US interests. In 1910, US President William Howard Taft approved a large loan to help Haiti clear its debt to France. However, even with the power of the US, Haiti's chaotic political landscape, marked by constant coups and political instability, made things difficult. Despite the US's involvement, it quickly became clear that they couldn't fully tame the situation. Once the money arrived in Haiti, things only got worse. From 1911 to 1915, Haiti had 7 presidents, either assassinated or overthrown. The ongoing turmoil led to a massive influx of refugees into surrounding areas, creating even more chaos. The US, seeing the mess in its backyard, realized it had to step in to fix the disaster. In 1914, the US Marine Corps intervened directly, seizing $500,000 in foreign currency from Haiti's national bank and depositing it in Wall Street. This $500,000 marked the beginning of America's control over Haiti's finances. The following year, in 1915, US Marines landed in Port-au-Prince, Haiti's capital, and began to directly intervene in the country's political affairs. Wall Street, led by the predecessor of Citibank, the National City Bank of New York, took full control of Haiti's finances and the national bank. There's no denying that the US intervention was, in fact, an invasion. Haiti was an independent sovereign nation, yet under these circumstances, what the US did in Haiti needs to be viewed with a certain perspective. While it's true that the US helped Haiti by planning its finances, offering loans, training officials, building hospitals, and constructing railroads, these infrastructure projects were all built on the backs of free labor. Hundreds, if not thousands, of Haitian citizens died during the construction of these projects. Even worse, the US imposed forced labor, racial segregation, and censorship, which sparked a massive peasant uprising from 1919 to 1920. The revolt even caught the attention of the US Senate, which sent a fact-finding mission to Haiti to investigate the abuse allegations. However, despite these brutal policies, the US's heavy-handed intervention did, ironically, lead to temporary stability in Haiti, and some people did profit from the situation. What's even more surprising is that despite all the inhumane actions by the US, Haiti managed to completely pay off its debt to French banks by 1947, thanks to America's control over Haiti's finances and the dual extraction of resources. This meant that Haiti's creditors were no longer France but the US and international organizations. The US took a moment to evaluate the situation and thought, politically, Haiti has basically copied our methods. We helped them pay off their debts, especially the over a century-long balance with France, by building infrastructure with human lives. The remaining debt doesn't seem as burdensome now, so things should be more stable from here on, right? With that, the US officially withdrew its troops in 1934, and by 1947, it ended its financial control over Haiti. Unfortunately, after the US left, Haiti, though seemingly stable, remained stably chaotic. The presidency of Haiti seemed cursed. Every president, no matter how upright or gentle before taking office, immediately turned into a vampire once in power. Take François Duvalier, who assumed office in 1957. He was originally a mild-mannered doctor, but once in power, he seamlessly transformed into a bloody dictator. Under the 28-year-long dictatorship of Duvalier and his son, the Haitian people endured unprecedented oppression. According to a 1978 World Bank report, Haiti's population was about 5.4 million, with 87% of children suffering from malnutrition, over 2.5 million farmers having no land to cultivate, and 65% of the population unemployed. In order to survive, many people had no choice but to sell their blood. And that blood? Duvalier sold it to American pharmaceutical companies. Even more chilling, the bodies of those who died from excessive blood donation were sold by the Duvalier to American institutions for medical experimentation. Haiti's poverty and cruelty seemed to have no bottom. Nearly 1 million Haitians tried to escape, fleeing to the US and South America. Those who couldn't escape were effectively turned into blood bags for the Duvalier family. And this was literally a case of being turned into blood bags. Many people might ask, why didn't the Haitian people rise up against the Duvalier regime? The answer is Duvalier and his son, to maintain their rule, spent a fortune hiring a secret police organization called the Tonton Macoute, whose sole job was to suppress the people. Additionally, Duvalier used voodoo culture as a tool for governance. He proclaimed himself the high priest of voodoo, often dressing up as Baron Samedi, the voodoo spirit of death. His secret police, the Tonton Macoute, were named after a terrifying creature from voodoo folklore, often used to scare children with the tale that they would be snatched away and eaten if they misbehaved. Under the Duvalier family, Haiti became a demon kingdom, and the entire country's wealth was plundered. Even so, they were not content with their lavish lifestyle. In their quest for more wealth, the father and son duo shamelessly used the anti-Soviet rhetoric to continue milking money from the US. The US provided over $900 million in aid to Haiti, but the way the loans were handled was bizarre. For example, in 1980, to help Haiti recover its economy and solve its foreign exchange crisis, the International Monetary Fund, under US influence, loaned Haiti $22 million. What happened next? After passing through the hands of baby Doc Duvalier, only $2 million remained. And of course, the repayment still came from the Haitian people, who continued to suffer under the heavy burden. You wouldn't believe how surreal things were when these guys were in power, so much so that even the neutral big guy, the US, couldn't stand it anymore. But the Duvalier father-son duo were way ahead of the game. They predicted America's reaction and didn't wait for the US to act. They started threatening to file complaints instead. This infuriated the US, which was forced to keep cutting its own losses while continuing to send aid, all while trying to keep France happy, not wanting to get pulled back into the mess. After all, they had just settled the debt back in the day and everyone was trying to keep things low-key, avoiding the disaster that was Haiti. In 1986, baby Doc Duvalier was finally overthrown, but the chaos in Haiti didn't end there. After several rounds of coups, in December 1990, Bertrand Aristide became the new president. He started off pretty decent, but soon after, a military coup ousted him, and Aristide was forced into exile. Then, in 1994, with US intervention and support, Aristide successfully returned to power. Here's where it gets wild. Since the Tonton Macoute organization that the Duvalier had used was so expensive and unreliable, Aristide came up with a groundbreaking idea. Why not just dissolve the military altogether? This would save a ton of money. As for security, well, there were always the police, and if things got too rough, there was always the United Nations. So, in January 1995, Aristide officially announced the dissolution of the Haitian military. Here's the problem. He didn't plan the aftermath properly and the armed soldiers weren't disarmed. So, as soon as the announcement was made, those soldiers who still had weapons started speaking up. The government owed them compensation, pensions, and their savings had to be returned. Aristide completely ignored them and pretended not to hear a thing. As a result, a group of enraged soldiers in Haiti began organizing on their own, threatening the government with violent actions. On the black market in the capital, Port-au-Prince, weapons flowed freely, and violent murders became a common occurrence. Civilian gangs rapidly rose to power, and even though the military was dissolved, armed forces still remained. Drug trafficking and gang violence all began to spread from here. All of this laid the groundwork for the later chaos in Haiti. As for the Haitian government, it was business as usual. They didn't seem too concerned as if the sky was falling, but they thought, well, we've still got the United Nations. At that time, the Soviet Union had already collapsed, and the United States' influence at the United Nations was at its peak, so Haiti looked to this global giant. On June 28, 1996, the UN Security Council passed Resolution 1063, deciding to establish the United Nations mission in Haiti to stabilize the country and help train the police. Originally, the UN's plan was a short-term mission, aiming to wrap things up by October 30, 1996 and leave. But as soon as the UN entered Haiti, they realized they'd stepped into a disaster. The stabilization mission became longer and longer, and the UN began to act like a vampire, constantly pouring resources into Haiti with no way to exit. Meanwhile, Aristide, no longer content with just letting the political situation slide, turned his attention to Haiti's economy, looking for ways to escape the country's crushing debt. While Haiti had received aid from all over the world, some of that aid consisted of low-interest or no-interest loans that still needed to be repaid. The problem was, what could Haiti possibly use to repay its debts? Aristide, quick on his feet, decided to play the poor, pitiable card, seeking to convince his creditors to forgive the debt or continue providing aid. The first sucker in this whole mess was, of course, the United States. After all, it was the US that had been leading the United Nations and the world economy, with its high international status making it the perfect target. Under the US's leadership, international organizations kept forgiving Haiti's debts, and institutions like the Inter-American Development Bank, the World Bank, and the EU started providing Haiti with various unconditional aid funds. By the end of 1995, Aristide's presidential term came to an end. But his series of actions not only made Haiti's chaotic situation even harder to clear up but also built Haiti's image internationally as an aid sponge, an amorphous octopus, struggling to survive while caught in a web of international assistance. Next up was René Préval, who inherited Aristide's bad habits. But Préval took it a step further with a capitalization and democratization plan. This brilliant move secured $226 million in funding from the IMF. What did he do with it? Well, this bold leader privatized nearly all of Haiti's basic service sectors: telephone, electricity, communications, banking, airports, you name it. By November 2000, Préval's 4-year presidential experience card expired. And guess what? He returned for a second term. But this time things got even worse. Corruption deepened and political, economic, and social chaos reached new heights. Opposition parties and social groups launched protest after protest. Violence erupted everywhere, and the entire country was on the brink of collapse. Even the US, once heavily involved, began losing interest, gradually distancing itself from Haiti and ultimately giving up. And then Aristide pulled yet another blame-shifting stunt. This time he decided to target a new sucker for Haiti's economic problems: France. On April 7, 2003, during a rally, he pointed his finger directly at France and accused them of being the root of Haiti's poverty. He boldly stated, "Haiti's poverty has everything to do with France. That 90 million francs indemnity we had to pay back in the day? It was pure colonial exploitation, and it cost Haiti over a century of development. France, you need to face history and pay us back. I've even calculated the amount for you. $21.7 billion. The French ambassador could only force a smile, likely thinking, Haiti sure has some nerve. Since the US had backed off, France had taken a low-key stance towards Haiti, trying to stay out of the mess. But who could have predicted that Aristide would publicly demand reparations from France? It not only left the French ambassador awkwardly trying to hide his discomfort, but it also sparked outrage among Haitians. Some radical groups blamed Haiti's problems squarely on the corruption of Aristide's government, particularly his lawless party. Meanwhile, domestic tensions in Haiti were escalating fast. Opposition protests spread like wildfire, and social violence hit new heights. By early 2004, armed conflict broke out in Haiti's fourth-largest city, Gonaives. This quickly spread nationwide, with rebel forces taking control of most of the northern regions and even advancing toward the capital, Port-au-Prince. Facing this mounting crisis, Aristide was forced to step down on February 29, 2004, once again fleeing into exile. The rebels blamed his decision to disband the army, which left the military's weapons unchecked. Some speculated that his sudden demand for reparations from France might have hastened his downfall. After that, Haiti started increasingly using international public opinion, especially targeting France, to find excuses for its economic struggles. Haiti even hoped that France would take on some of the financial burden. But even with France kicked out, Haiti still faced the insurmountable issue of not being able to repay international loans, and continued to play the poor me card, half forcing, half crying, asking international organizations to forgive its debts. Surprisingly, Haiti's defaulting strategy seemed to have some effect. In 2009, international financial institutions, moved by Haiti's extreme poverty, agreed to cancel $1.2 billion of Haiti's foreign debt. While this amount didn't solve Haiti's fundamental problems, it did help evolve Haiti's octopus model. The country's operations largely sustained by UN economic aid and international assistance. As for Haiti's internal issues, corruption, rampant drug gangs, and the suffering of its people, Aristide clearly chose to remain silent. After all, who cared about the domestic chaos? The key was to keep securing resources from the international community. In 2010, Haiti faced an unprecedented disaster, a massive earthquake that brought the entire country to its knees. According to the United Nations, the capital, Port-au-Prince, was almost flattened, with 30% of its buildings destroyed. Between 250,000 and 300,000 people were killed, nearly 200,000 injured, and over 1.3 million left homeless. A third of the population was affected by the disaster, and even UN peacekeepers lost 8 lives. The direct economic losses from the earthquake were estimated to be between $9 billion and $11 billion. As you can imagine, the task of rebuilding Haiti after the quake seemed almost impossible. Despite the outpouring of international assistance, including France's contribution to debt relief and its active participation in negotiations with international organizations to ease Haiti's financial burden, the aid still felt woefully insufficient. Even with debt forgiveness, Haiti's corruption and inefficient government made it nearly impossible for the country to function effectively, and post-disaster recovery seemed like a distant dream. At this point, Aristide and other leaders began placing all the blame on France, accusing the Colonial-era indemnity payment of robbing Haiti of more than a century of development opportunities. They argued that everything stemmed from that 90 million French francs indemnity, and that France should bear full responsibility for Haiti's current plight and fund the nation's reconstruction. International public opinion, especially from scholars and officials in the United States, Canada, and the European Union, largely sided with Haiti, criticizing France's colonial history and supporting Haiti's right to seek reparations, urging France to pay compensation for disaster recovery. In May 2015, when French President François Hollande visited Haiti, the Haitian people and government once again raised the historical debt issue, demanding reparations. Dozens of Haitians took to the streets, chanting for France to repay the historical debt. Haitian President Michel Martelly directly addressed Hollande, almost throwing the words "pay up" in his face. Hollande, somewhat magnanimously, acknowledged that France did indeed owe Haiti the 90 million francs from 200 years ago, but he made it clear that this debt was moral in nature, not financial, and did not mean France was obligated to pay. Although Hollande's statement didn't lead to any tangible promises of compensation, it undoubtedly made the French government nervous. The French opposition seized this opportunity to accuse Hollande of using the situation to boost his profile ahead of the 2017 presidential election. Regardless of his political motives, his comments essentially acknowledged France's historical exploitation, effectively putting Haiti on the map as a historical victim in the debate over colonialism. From that point on, Haiti gradually established itself as the perfect victim on the international stage, particularly in discussions around colonialism. It became a way for Haiti to constantly place the blame on France whenever the issue was raised. At this stage, Haiti seemed to have adapted to leveraging its historical trauma to gain support, much like Algeria had done, garnering sympathy from other former colonies who could relate to its plight. In 2015, Haiti's elections were marred by an election fraud scandal, which sparked widespread public outrage, leading to large-scale protests and violent clashes. The election results were declared invalid, and political instability escalated once again. Many politicians and officials fled the country, heading to popular destinations such as the United States and French Guiana. Both sought after escape routes for Haitians in times of crisis. Then, in 2016, Hurricane Matthew struck Haiti, causing thousands of deaths and displacing large numbers of people. The disaster only intensified Haiti's refugee crisis, with more people fleeing to French Guiana, further straining the local security and resettlement efforts there. In May 2017, just after Macron took office, French Guiana wasted no time in urging the French government to come handle the Haitian refugees. At this point, Macron's campaign rhetoric seemed to offer France a moral endorsement on the matter. During his campaign, Macron had declared that France would honestly face its history, acknowledging colonialism as a crime against humanity. In his inaugural speech, he made it clear that France was at a turning point, one of great renaissance, and that the nation's power was not waning but instead being revitalized. His foreign policy quickly shifted to enhancing France's international influence. Haiti, in this context, became the perfect opportunity for Macron to leverage both history and influence. Whether his actions toward Haiti were driven by genuine goodwill or political strategy, he did make an early move to strengthen cooperation between France and Haiti. In December 2017, Macron met with Haitian President Jovenel Moïse and declared that Haiti would be a priority for France in terms of cooperation. He pledged €50 million in education funding, $30 million to help address climate change, and promised support to French businesses investing in Haiti. Additionally, he offered assistance to combat corruption in the country. Macron's gesture was clearly an attempt to boost France's influence in Latin America and the Caribbean while also presenting France as actively addressing its colonial past. At the same time, it allowed France to display a more positive hands-on approach in its dealings with Haiti, moving beyond mere acknowledgement of historical wrongs. However, compared to Macron's diplomatic efforts, President Trump's attitude was completely the opposite. At the time, Trump publicly described Haiti as a shithole country, a remark that undoubtedly caused an uproar worldwide, especially among the Haitian people who found such insulting language deeply inappropriate. Macron, in a BBC interview, did not hesitate to criticize Trump, pointing out that his comments were not only rude but also entirely out of line for a US president in terms of international decorum. Yet, 7 years later, Macron himself seems to have fallen into a similar diplomatic blunder, the Trump-style diplomatic misstep. After Moïse and Macron had reached various cooperation agreements, there seemed to be new hope for Haiti's future. However, this hope was quickly shattered by reality. Despite Moïse's rise to power, the situation in Haiti did not improve. Corruption, drug trafficking, violence, and gang rule continued to plague the nation, and the problem showed no signs of abating. The United Nations aid to Haiti almost became a repetitive annual series. Despite the deployment of a large number of peacekeeping troops and judicial missions aimed at strengthening the rule of law and human rights, these efforts seemed to have little effect. The United Nations efforts were in vain because the political infighting within Haiti grew more intense. Even with significant international investment, the corruption of Haiti's government and the out-of-control situation could not be changed. In February 2021, China openly pointed out that there was no external solution to the Haitian problem, emphasizing that the cause lay in internal political instability, rampant corruption, ineffective governance, and abuse of power. This was a strong criticism of Haiti's government, practically a complete denial of the nation's governance. However, amidst this political chaos, Moïse remained the president waving the flag of settling colonialism. Despite having accepted Macron's grand offer, he ultimately failed to lead Haiti out of its dire situation. In July 2021, Moïse was assassinated, and Haiti once again fell into endless power struggles and violent conflicts. What is surprising is that no matter who assumes power in Haiti, the rallying cry for international sympathy always seems to be settling colonialism. France continues to be their main target, a fact that has caught the attention of British and American media even more than the Haitians themselves. These media outlets repeatedly emphasize the issue, especially after Macron's re-election in 2022. The New York Times even launched a special series on how Haiti was forced to pay a ransom to France for over 100 years, shedding light on how France exploited Haiti through this means. While the role of the United States in Haiti was briefly mentioned by the New York Times, it was not deeply explored. The spotlight was largely placed on the historical debt between France and Haiti. French media, such as Le Figaro, intensified their criticism, even sarcastically claiming that the Eiffel Tower in Paris was built with Haiti's ransom money. As these reports unfolded, the complex relationships between France, Haiti, and the United States once again became the focal point of public discourse. However, by this time, Macron was no longer a young leader. When he first took office, he was not only faced with France's domestic issues but also had to confront a heap of historical legacies, including immigration, Islamic issues, and the turmoil in the Middle East and North Africa. In the face of these unresolved matters, Macron had no choice but to reluctantly acknowledge France's colonial past, gradually paying the price for the country's actions. However, he also had to strike a balance between France's international influence and its future position on the world stage. In August 2020, when Macron visited Algeria, he not only laid a wreath but also signed a series of cooperation agreements in areas such as natural gas, hydrogen development, and sports. He stated that France would work with Algeria to build the future, without hiding any of the colonial history. This move was undoubtedly an acknowledgement of France's colonial past and marked France's public stance on the painful history of Algeria's anti-colonial movement. However, Haiti was clearly not willing to sit idly by. Watching Macron's gesture towards Algeria, the Haitian government began to contemplate seeking a similar settlement with France. But just as this thought began to gain traction, Haiti's internal situation worsened even further. Last year, the gang violence and rampant armed clashes in Haiti spread uncontrollably, and the situation showed no sign of improvement. By March of this year, the violence had intensified to such an extent that it led to the resignation of Prime Minister Ariel Henry. Haiti established a transitional presidential committee, but the country's political crisis seemed far from resolution. In May of this year, Haiti's transitional committee appointed Ariel Henry as interim prime minister, but his assumption of office did little to change the situation in Haiti. Henry sought external help, attempting to bring in foreign forces to stabilize the situation. However, this move was made without the prior approval of the committee, leading to an internal power struggle. The division within the committee intensified, continuing the long-standing pattern of Haitian governments, struggling for power while relentlessly pursuing France for historical accountability. In particular, on September 26, during a speech at the United Nations General Assembly, the chairman of the Haitian Transitional Committee, Fritz, openly called out France, demanding that the country take responsibility for its colonial history and return the compensation it owed. This rant attracted international attention, once again highlighting Haiti's ongoing struggles in the context of France's colonial past. At the same time, Macron was visiting Canada. During his visit, Canadian writer Yves Gendler directly posed a question to Macron: when will France pay Haiti the money it owes? Macron's silence spoke volumes, and his bodyguards quickly ushered him away, making this moment the focal point of media discussions. While the Haitian Transitional Committee continued to fight over the pursuit of historical debt, the violence and chaos inside Haiti showed no sign of abating. Gang violence erupted once again, resulting in at least 70 deaths and forcing thousands of Haitians to flee their homes. In early November, Port-au-Prince, the capital of Haiti, was once again engulfed in widespread gang violence, resulting in the deaths of 150 people and forcing over 20,000 to flee their homes. The political chaos intensified as Ariel Henry's tenure as prime minister came to an end, and Haiti entered a new phase of political struggle, exacerbating the domestic turmoil. At the G20 summit this year, President Macron responded to questions about Haiti's situation by stating that France bore no responsibility for Haiti's current instability. This remark sparked outrage in Haiti, reigniting debates over France's colonial history. Activists pointed out that over the past century, Haiti had paid France more than $100 billion in debt, yet these funds had done little to improve the nation's condition and in fact, may have contributed to its ongoing instability. However, it's unrealistic to place all the blame on France. Haiti's reliance on international aid, coupled with severe domestic corruption and political infighting, has meant that aid has often failed to benefit the population in meaningful ways. Haiti's ongoing crisis is not solely a legacy of colonialism. It's also a consequence of poor governance and dependence on external support. For Haiti to turn the page, it will ultimately have to rely on its own efforts to reform and rebuild.